Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from all over the world. Yes, 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 yes. I'm excited. It's another engaging and impactful episode of the showcase. And yes, I remain Yemisi Lagunju, aka the Igniter, igniting in you the passion for purposeful living. Wow, I'm super duper excited to be here again. It's another month and it's another opportunity for us to just look into the lives of individuals that have discovered their purpose and are walking in it. I'm excited to be here today. Our guest for the month is already here. She's backstage waiting to share her story with you and I. And I trust that we will be impacted by her life story. Everyone that has always come on the showcase, their stories, be different experiences they have always had the same effects, leaving you engaged, leaving you encouraged, leaving you better equipped to live a life of purpose. And yes, again, it's me, Yemisi Lagunju, aka the Igniter. Perchance this is your first time of ever being on the showcase, and you may be wondering, what is the showcase really about? I'm going to just give a few minutes to explain to you what the showcase is and why we are here this evening. Yes, it's evening here in Nigeria, and I don't know where you may be, anywhere you are logging in from all over the world, but I'm super duper happy to be here. But before we go on, I would like you to just put something in the comment section. Put a "Hi, I'm ready" in the comment section. I want to see "Hi, I'm ready" in the comment section. So if you know that you are truly ready for another episode of insightful, engaging, empowering, in fact, what are the other words that we can use? Words that sincerely get you moving on your path of fulfilling your purpose. Please just put it in the comment box and just write, "Hi, I'm ready." Yes, 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 yes. I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. Please go ahead, put it in the comment box. "Hi, I'm ready." Okay, so while I'm waiting for you to do that, I'm just going to share with you once again what the showcase is all about. Yes, I said showcase is a platform. It's an online platform that we use to, put the spotlight on individuals that have discovered their life purpose. Yes, we talk about everything that has to do with living life purposeful and living a successful life. Because I truly believe that you cannot sincerely live a purposeful life. Live a successful life if you have not discovered your purpose and if you're not working in it. To truly attain success, you need to know what your purpose is, and you need to be able to find expressions through which you live out your purpose. That then and only then can real and true success be found. And yes, like I always say, success is relative. What I define as my success is not the same definition of what your success story is. And that is why it's so beautiful that we have, it's dynamic, it's versatile, it's beautiful to see that everyone has their own, success story, has their own purpose, and it makes it just beautiful to see that we are not just like zombies where everybody is doing the same thing and being the same person. Just before we actually started this live broadcast, I was just seeing a caption of the news, and there was this photographer that just died, and I just saw beautiful pictures that this man took, and I was like, wow, this man found his place. He knew that he loved photography. He did everything that had to do, living a life of photography, taking pictures, capturing the moments, capturing the sights, capturing those things that are not are so profound, and at times some of those things are even commonplace things that we see every day all around us. Yet there's something about it, the way he captured it through the lenses. And it's amazing to know that that could have just been his own purpose, to just be a photographer, to capture the beauty of everything all around us. What is your purpose? What is your success story? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why we are here today. We are talking about purpose. We are talking about discovering your purpose and walking in your purpose. And that's why we are here today. And once again, my name is Yemisi, the Igniter. So we're going to go straight into what we have for today. Like I said, we have our guest speaker already backstage, and she is ready to share her story with us today. So like I said, if you are ready, I want to see it in the comment section. I am ready. I am ready. Go ahead and just put that in the comment section, and we will go on with today's program. All right, so this month we have with us a very wonderful woman. She is a wonderful woman because she is a person of purpose. I have seen her, in fact, I have seen her over the years. I've seen her evolve over the years. You know, like I always say something, purpose is not a destination, purpose is a journey. I have seen her on her journey to fulfilling purpose. And yet she has not yet gotten there. And that's why she's still progressing on her journey. But she knows what her journey is. She knows where her destination is. And she's heading in that direction. And that is why we are here today to hear the story of none other than Efe. Yes, 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 yes. All right. So I'm just going to go straight to introducing our speaker for today. And yes, I know that you are going to be super duper blessed by her story, because her life has indeed been one of purpose. Her life has been one of, going after that which she believes is her purpose and her path. And we would hear her story in a bit. So let me go straight into her introduction. All right, so I'm going to just, read this out. Efe Fagbeja is a woman's coach, speaker, and writer who focuses on emotional intelligence, self-discovery, leadership, mindset building, and other soft skills. She has been working with women since year 2006. She is the convener of Behind Closed Doors, a transformational life seminar for women, the DBA Women's Leadership Bootcamp for youth pre-adult stage women, and the Women's Icon, a community for women to have intimate conversations. She is also the founder of Grace Acts Female Support Initiative, an NGO which supports widows, single mothers, victims of domestic violence, and vulnerable women, under which she runs the Accessories for Life Women Empowerment Projects, providing women with decent work and income by teaching them to make jewelry and accessories. She has a BSc in economics from the University of Ibadan and an MA in international business from the University of North London. She has over 20 years of professional experience spanning roles in supply chain management, HR, sales, market research, and entrepreneurship, and ran her award-winning jewelry brand, Ishura, for about a decade before pivoting fully into her work with women. She is married and blessed with 4 beautiful children. Yes, 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 yes. We have today none other than Efe herself. I just want to bring her to the stage. Efe, we need your camera on. Yay! How are you, sis? Good to have you here.
Thank you.
How are
I'm
you?
excited to be here. Fine, thank you. I'm very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be
Well,
our
it's my
guest
honor. It's
tonight.
my honor. I'm very honored to be here. Very honored.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it's going to be another beautiful and insightful episode of the showcase. I have no doubt about that because I know the caliber of person you are. I know what the contents that you have. In fact, I will not say I know. When you have an idea, you don't know the full thing because I'm not God, I didn't put it there, but I can know, I can feel it, I can sense it, I can,
Even me, I'm
touch
still
it.
learning it.
Yeah, still discovering it, exactly. So I can't say I know, but I can feel, I know that there's value, there's content, so we're going to experience that tonight and all. I'm really super duper looking forward to you sharing your story with us. I have no doubt that we are truly going to be ignited. We are truly going to be encouraged. We are truly going to be, impacted and ready to run our race and keep running that race of purposeful living.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
So we're
you.
going to go straight into what we have for today. And like I usually would ask, my golden question, which is in a sentence or two, how would you describe your purpose? In a sentence or so. I don't want a paragraph. Just, hit it on the head. In a sentence or two, how would you describe your purpose?
I am called to women. Let me just put it that way. And then when we share the story, we will understand better.
All right. She's called to women. So she knows her niche. It's not everybody's. Sorry to all the men on today. Sorry, it's not a women's thing. Please. In fact, I had somebody during the week be like, excuse me, is showcase a women's thing or is it like for and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry. Unfortunately, the men I have invited this year, they so far they had to, their schedule, one thing or the other came up and they had to like you know well, I'm going to still have the men on. So please, to all our men that are on connected tonight, please don't feel that I am saying you are beginning to switch to one side alone. No, it's not like that. Maybe we women, we are always available. You guys have a lot to handle. So we're going to wait patiently as I expect those men to be, on the next month and all that. But tonight we have a woman and she is all about women again. So please don't be offended. It's her purpose. All right. So Effie, she said it's all about women. It's about women, And I'm going to give you the stage in the next few minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I would like to hear your story. How did you get to that point where you knew that your purpose really centered all around women and empowering and equipping women? How did you get there? And we don't mind you going back. If your story started from the womb self, you can tell us. Maybe you caught a rev while you were still in your mother's womb. Please feel free. Take us back to the very beginning, when you had your aha moment and when you knew that, yes, this is really what I'm called to do. So please take it over from here. All right, sis.
First of all, I have to say thank you very much. What you're doing is just so great. And when you invited me on the show, I'm like, uh, you, yes, it's been a journey. But when you now have to put it together and tell it to somebody, it can be like, okay, it forced me to sit down and really think about things. So thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be here. I'm honored to be here, and I
Thank
love your
you.
vibe. Remember, I told you that I love the consistency. Man, I've seen it over the years, and it just inspires me. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank
How did I
you.
know I was called to women? I'll say that when we were growing up, because we grew up in about the same period. There was nothing like purpose, all those things. It's now that we are kind of intentional about helping our kids discover what they're about. Then it was from childhood, it was about your books, and then you either be an accountant, a lawyer, an engineer, something like that. And so I've always been a book person, and I loved reading. So I think early. But one thing was, I had a grandma who was a deaconess in the Baptist church, and she always had all these women come to the house and just come and talk about their lives and seek counsel from her and all that. And because I was a quiet child, I was always reading a book, so I always had my nose buried in a book in a corner. Nobody just minded me if he's reading her book. But somehow I would be able to listen to the conversations, I would hear what they were saying. And the stories always got to me. They got to me. After a while, I began to ask, why do women always have it so hard? Why do women suffer? And what still, I realized that many of the problems had to do with maybe marriage and their husbands and their children. And it was just so frustrating for me, to the extent that I think I was about 11 when I remember I was in secondary school. And I remember where I was sitting that day and I was just talking to myself, just thinking. And I said to myself, I'm never going to get married. I didn't share it with anybody. I never shared it with anybody. But my plan was, you know what, I'm not going to get married. I'm going to have two children. And I really don't have to marry the father. I'll just have the two children. And I will go off. I wanted to work in the World Bank. And that was because I thought the World Bank was the biggest bank in the world. So I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to work in the World Bank. I'll drop the children in boarding school. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to get married. I realized that I didn't even know. In retrospect, I realized that I didn't even know what it meant to have children. How was the process of having children? I didn't know. And how do I know that? Because about a year later, this time I remember the class I was in when this other example happened. And I remember that one of our friends was telling a group of us how her cousin got pregnant by using the toilet after her uncle. And we all believed. So we didn't even know. I didn't even know how children are born, but I had made up my mind that I wasn't going to get married. I was going to have. So just to show you how, for me, that thing just came from childhood. It had grown with me. I'd always believed that women were suffering, and it was just, it sat heavy on me. And over the years, I carried that mindset for a long time about how women were suffering, and it used to get to me, and it was always annoying me. But I never thought that I would do it. As I grew older, I think I was about 17 or so, no, about 18 when I was in university, about 18 when I got into the faith, when I became serious with my faith. And when I did, of course, I began to realize that the mindset I had wasn't a godly mindset. And so I dumped it. Over the years, I've been people, watching how people live their lives, personal experience, watching other people and all that. And I realized that many of the reasons why women end up in difficulty are actually self-made, so to speak. It's because of wrong decisions they took at a younger age, or ignorant decisions they took, or ignorance of some sort, naivety and things like that. As soon as I started to realize that, even then, I wasn't thinking about talking to women or setting up anything. But I think when I got married, grew older, I was in church, my husband was pastoring, and I think then it began to enter my mind. The Bible says that it began to come into the mind of Moses that he should save the Israelites. Something like that. It just started to come to my mind. Oh, you could actually set up something for women, to tell women these things that you've discovered and how they can actually choose. And I always noticed that people were always coming to me for advice for some reason. I won't ask. It wasn't that I would go to people and ask them anything. In fact, I was a bit shy or scared of people. But people would always, it was like a magnet. People would just come to me and sit down and just start telling me their problems and asking me for my advice and all that. So I thought, yeah, we could actually set up a program to discuss this. And this was in 2006. And so I started and would have monthly sessions, monthly program, monthly sessions, and all that. And we would invite people from outside to come and speak different areas, marriage, career, everything. And so we started like that. But even at that, I didn't really see it as a purpose thing. I just saw it as something I was doing. But I think sometime in 2011, I was just going through some emotional stuff, and and I was upset. I was upset with God, and I was thinking, why do I always go through these kind of things? Why are people always taking advantage? Why am I always getting this? What kind of treatment? Why is this happening? I was just asking God several questions, and I remember that um right there, I was there in the sitting room with my husband, my kids, everybody, and I was really just getting upset. And I remember God saying to me that time that, but I've always been there. And I thought about it. I thought about the fact that the experiences that I went through at every point in my life, it would be like I had so many near misses, so many stupid things I had done that could have ended badly, so many naive decisions I took and things like that. And I just noticed that. But somehow I never quite fell in. And God showed me, it was as though my life just flashed before me in about in less than a minute. And God just said to me, I've always been there. Haven't you ever wondered why nothing ever went wrong? It's because I've always been there. I've always been there. I had you on a leash, and I always pulled you back at the point of danger. But I wanted you to experience certain things and understand how close you can get to making certain decisions, make certain stupid decisions without ever really making them, how it happens to people, so that you can go out and teach others and save others from doing the same thing. And it was like a light bulb. I was just like, oh wow, that evening, I was just like, oh wow, because I never saw it that way. I remember it was 2011, but I don't know the exact date. I'm sure if I look in my journal for that period, I would find it. And it was just like, oh wow, it was a very oh wow moment for me because I just kept thinking, oh wow, oh wow. And at that point, God asked me, so will you do it? Because before then, I had complained several times. I don't like women's ministry. Maybe I should move on to something else. But somehow the tug was always there. And at that point, it was like, so will you take the assignment or not? And I've learned in my short life, after plenty of bad experiences, learned the hard way that you don't say no to God's assignment. You do what God asks you to do. And so I think at that moment, I was just like, okay, I'll do it. And from there, I now started to make it more intentional. So that was my aha moment. That was how I got into that journey. Are you there?
Oh, yes, I am. I am so here. I was actually just smiling the way you said that, God cannot, you can't say no to God, you know. But really, we have seen stories of people that seemingly try to say no to God, but they know the end now. At the
I've
end
been
of the day,
there
they'll
before.
come
I've
back.
been there before. I've experienced. That's why I said I learned the hard way. So
Yeah.
after you experience it once, you don't do it again because you can see the consequences. No, you don't do it
you
again.
you became smarter.
Much smarter. Much smarter.
All right. Okay. So awesome. It's good to have heard your story. So you've always been around, women and all that. I was just thinking about when you were talking about when you were a child, and grandma would have women's like fellowship thing at home, and they're all talking about their stories and all that. And really, it's amazing how, because of their stories, you actually decided that you were not going to get married, and thank God that God intervened, because you were growing up with that was like childhood trauma, where you are just, look, if this is what marriage is, I'm not going to get involved. And the reality is that there are so many young people that, because of what they have seen out there as so to speak, not the right picture of marriage, they have actually decided that they're not going to go into it. It's funny how you thought, you could get pregnant by just sitting, using the toilet that somebody else had used,
Yeah.
but I guess that's being a child, children are naive and all that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question. Okay, so since you've started, working with women, what has your experience been like? Has it been, would you say it's been a smooth sailing ride, or has it been like a roller coaster ride? Up today, tomorrow it's here. What has it been like working with women? Because for me personally, I remember, growing up as a child, as the only female child. I have two older brothers. You know, I realized that it was easier for me to make friends with males than to have friends with females. So I remember when I entered university, I always used to have, I had a lot of male friends. In fact, the Holy Spirit had to deliberately tell me one time that you need to make female friends. And I had to consciously and intentionally start making friends with females. And for me, it was too much stress because, women, we can have our females, we can have our issues. We can be super touchy, we can be sensitive, we can be this, we can be that. So I understand that working with women can really be, yes, it can be challenging. So, what has your experience been like? Has it been, like I said, smooth sailing, or it's been a roller coaster ride?
Well, first of all, I don't think that there's any journey in life that can be smooth to just go like that.
Yeah.
And for me, it has really been a roller coaster. Now let me just answer the question. It has been a roller coaster. I don't for a long time I was scared of people. So I would rather just stay on my own. I had a lot of people who, maybe because of my mien, and a lot of people thought they were close to me, but me, I wasn't close to anybody. I was very detached. I
Mm.
just kind of had that wall, that emotional wall, because I don't like drama. I don't like they said, you said. I just hated it. So I would just, and you deal when you're dealing with people generally, not even male or female, when you're dealing with people, you just find out that things you do can be misunderstood, and when you now have a barrage of them, it can be very, very, it makes me anxious. So I just kind of kept that wall, and I didn't really allow people to get into my space. However, I went to a female school, an all girls school, boarding school. So you learn to deal with women, you see all sorts. So I didn't even really see some of those things as a female thing. I just saw it
Mm.
as a thing, a people thing. Um, but of course, after I also got to the point where when I was in university, I really liked just having male friends. Male friends were just easy to deal with. I've studied that, but that's not the focus of the discussion today, because I now understand why that happens. You understand? Women are,
Mm.
number one, women are more expressive. Number two, women are, two guys can be friends for many, many years and they don't even know each other's real names. All they
Mm.
know is, or they don't know each other's surnames. They just know the first name and the nickname, and that's it. They don't know about his family. They don't know anything. But you find women who meet today and they just talk, and once they hit it off, they can be like they've known each other for years.
Mm.
And it's because women tend to form deeper bonds than men. And
Mm.
before you form a deep bond with somebody, at least you want to know who the person is. Who are
Yeah.
they? You want to have an idea about them. So it looks like they are sizing you up. It looks like they are more sensitive. It looks like, because they are actually forming deeper relationships. Guys don't need deep, there's just surface. So you don't have to explain anything. So that's the thing about that. But for women, in fact, there was a time I was saying, Lord, I don't think I kept running from it until that was all before that time when God actually said, "This is what I need you to do. This is why
Mm.
I'm taking you through all these experiences." Before that time, I so many times I was like, "I beg, let me just leave this women's thing." You know, somebody will complain about this, another person will complain about the exact opposite. Somebody complained that, oh, you poke nose into people's issues too much. Somebody else will say, you don't
You're not
ask enough
concerned.
about people. You are not concerned about people. I'll be like, so which one should I do now? Lord, I'm tired. I'm fed up. I can just sit in my house and be going to work and coming back. I don't have to do all this. I'm okay. And so there were, when you are in denial, you keep like, no, this is not a ministry, it's just something I'm doing. I just kept denying until that day when God said it to me. And from when he now said it to me, I actually embraced it, because now I wasn't looking at it as something that was optional. It's something that I have to do. And I now embraced it and started to look at, okay, how do I deal with certain things? So what now happened was I found myself being more forthright. Where I wouldn't speak up before, I would actually now come up and, I was able to build better boundaries, set better boundaries. I was able to define myself better with people. And I found out that keeping quiet and just allowing things to happen is not going to work. Say who you are, be forthright with people, be open, be vulnerable where you need to be. So I embraced it. And then from there, I think the journey became better. And every time I meet a tough point, I kind of find a way to navigate it. And I began to understand people better, and I began to understand even the journey better. So, and that's where something like that explanation of why do women even do this, I began to see it
Yeah.
in a different light. And once I saw it in a different light, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. And I'm better able to advise people when they're in that situation. Well, that is a problem a lot of young ladies face. They'll come in
Yeah,
and
yes.
when I came into church, nobody was greeting me, nobody was talking to me. They were all looking at me somehow. And I'm like, Madam, nobody was looking at you anyhow. You too, did you smile? They frowned. Hey, nobody was looking at you. It just looked like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yes, you're really so right, about it, that because I guess men are just wired that way and women are wired differently. And really when we want to, get close to somebody, we really want to get close. And we open up everything. We don't, no holding back. And at times we are not sensitive enough to know who to really open up to. And at the end of the
exactly.
day, so those issues come up. So I really understand what you're saying. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this, because I can see that from your explanation, I see that there's growth that has taken place personally. It's been a growth journey for you. Okay, so now what I really would like to know, like today's theme, this month theme is purpose driven living. Okay. So on a day-to-day basis, how would you define for you as an individual, what is purpose living like for you? And that's like, in how do you find expression for what your purpose is on a day-to-day basis? What are you doing? How did you find that expression? How was it has it been challenging, and what are the things that you still want to go ahead to do in finding expression of purposeful driven life? I don't know if you get my question.
I think I do, and I hope that when I answer it, I'll answer the question that you were asking. But
Okay.
for me, I think it's been a mental shift, a change in perspective, because the minute I understood what God wanted me to do with my life, what God wanted me to do, what now happened was I began to see myself as an example. So everything that happens to me, I'm like, oh, I'm an example. It's happening to me. Even some unpleasant things that happen to me, I'm like, okay, this is happening to me so that I can know how I can be the right example. Some things happen and you're just like, why am I going through this? But instead of asking why, I'm like, okay, wow, this is happening. Now I understand. I can now understand people who go through this kind of situation, this kind of circumstance. So it has helped me it made me see myself as an example. And that thing is a mindset. So in my head, it kind of guides my living. And I don't just want to be an external example. I Because I'm accountable to God. I'm accountable. God is going to ask me. I'm going to give account to God of my stewardship. So if I'm just talking and not walking my talk. God knows that. And so I have to be an example inside and outside. So I think that has been the greatest mind shift for me. So everything I do when I imagine that, okay, if I had a mentee or somebody I was talking to, or I was talking to a group of women in this situation, what would I be telling them? And then I ask myself, oh, are you living that? Is that your reality? You're living reality. And then if it's not, I now come back and say, okay, I need to marry my reality with what's really, because hypocrisy is one of the worst kind of uh, I mean the worst character traits that you can find. In fact, what the Bible says concerning teachers, and I consider myself a teacher because I'm supposed to teach women.
Yeah.
What the Bible says about teachers is that don't be many of you should not be teachers, considering that teachers will get a stricter judgment
Yeah.
because you are supposed to know better. You are opening your mouth to tell others what to do. You must make sure that you also conform. So it's something like that. I've had to I keep on reevaluating my choices every day and trying to make sure that I am living purposefully, so that if I'm talking to somebody, I'm not just talking. I'm I'm talking about what I have experienced. I'm talking from a place of experience. I'm talking about
Okay.
what I would do. And that has been tested several times, and of course, I'm still growing, but basically, that's how it has shaped my everyday living.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay, so let me just ask this now. Okay, I had mentioned something about that definitely you have grown over the years, you know. Okay, so when you finally, okay, agreed, okay, this is what I'm called to do. This is what my purpose is. Okay. What did you start doing? What was your expression of that purpose at that time? And where you are now, what is the expression of that purpose? And what I mean by that is, okay, I know that nowadays, I know that you do a lot of YouTube, you have a YouTube channel, and you talk about a lot of things that have to do with women. Excuse me. I've seen you, on different platforms where you have been invited to speak about, maybe women's health and things like that. So I'm sure you were not doing all this at the beginning. Okay, so when you started, what was your initial expression, and how did you grow to where you are now? So I don't know, do you get that question?
Yes, I do. And it's a very deep question. And the reason why is when I started, funny enough, I never saw it as my what I'll be doing fully. I always saw it as my ministry. And for me, the way I had it in mind was like, okay, every I didn't see myself as someone that was called. I just saw it as, okay, every Christian has to do the work of the ministry, and this is how God wants me to express my own. So I always saw it as a side thing, something I was doing on the side. But what I was doing at that time was, which I had started since 2006. I now started doing it intentionally. I started having monthly programs for women. So we would sit together where we could discuss, and what we're trying to do was just to discuss life issues from a biblical perspective. Then for me, it was more of a Christian women's thing. So because I saw it as a ministry, so I even named it Christian Women and all that. But we would come in and we'd discuss life pressing issues that are like things that you may not necessarily find clearly outlined in the scriptures, and we'll try and thrash it out from a godly point of view. So that was what we're doing. We're having those meetings monthly. Of course, in between that, people would come, would just talk to me. I was doing a lot of counseling, a lot of one-on-one counseling, but I always saw it as a side thing. But something happened in 2020. At the end of 2019, the backstory is something else. We might get to it, we might not, but just let me put it this way: that at the end of 2019, I sensed God tell me to stop my business that I was doing. That was my jewelry business, and I was like, but this is all I have. And God said, no, just stop it, put it on hold. That was like the instruction, put it on hold, and focus more on your personal brand. That was how I heard it. And for me at that time, I thought the personal branding had to do more with business, because I also coach people on business and entrepreneurship and all that. So I thought it was more of that. But then in January. So what I now needed to do was to get coached myself in how to build a personal brand and finding purpose. And in that, when I was in that class, that was when I realized that um, it's not about entrepreneurship. The real thing you were born to do was women. So it was like, oh, build a personal brand more around women. And I was thinking, how do I marry this with entrepreneurship and my business and all that? And God did not tell me that stop your business. He said put it on hold. And so I thought, okay, I'm just putting it on hold. And guess what? That I did that course in January. It lasted 6 weeks. So I ended it in February. And then in March, COVID struck and we're all locked down. So I was very grateful first that I answered Obey God. I was like, what if I was still trying to make jewelry? Nobody's buying jewelry in COVID. So from then in that year, what I started to do was, and I still didn't get it right in the sense that I thought, okay, I just got into the coaching space. So in 2020, I got into the coaching space, trying to build an online coaching system. You know, all this, personal branding, coaching system, and all that, getting people to pay for stuff. And throughout 2020, that was when I really went into doing Instagram lives every week, going live every week, creating my Instagram page, doing a lot of things like that. I set up, that was when I started behind closed doors. It was virtual. The first two were virtual. We started the Leadership Academy. It was also virtual. So we had, I think we had two cohorts that year or something. We did that. And so that was when I started a lot of things. I did a lot of courses on how to, learn your voice and, things like, because that was when I really started getting into becoming a speaker and all that. So, but by the end of the year, I was just like, this thing is not working. As in, I'm not earning any money from it. I'm not making money. I've been doing it, and people are calling and giving me praise. Of course, I had one or two coaching clients pay, but it's not consistent. It's just not making sense. I was frustrated. So I went back to God and I prayed about it, and I was like, Lord, this thing isn't working. What that was in 2021. What do you want me to do? I'm tired. How this thing isn't working. You said I should drop my business, and I just got the thing of, okay, continue. I moved cities. I moved from Oshobo to Ibadan, and when I moved, I got into another business. But that tug, I feel I was getting too absorbed by the business, and I still kept having that tug that no, 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 you are getting too caught up in this business thing. I need you to free yourself so that you can focus. But it was not until 2022, January, January, that God now expressly said to me that I want you to do this full time, free ministry. I was like, I was like, oh my gosh, I was just like, wow. Me, I'm not a full-time minister or beg. Me, I'm a worker. I like business, this is not my thing. How am I going to eat? How am I going to, and God, I just had that conversation with God, and it was really funny because it was as though God was saying to me, are you hungry? Have you not been eating since, all those kind of things? I'm just like, what is all this now? What? But I've been doing this since 2006. Why didn't you say since then that it's full time you want me to? And it was more like, would you have listened? Would you have listened? You were too absorbed in what you were doing, So I had to painfully acknowledge that, nah, I wouldn't have listened. I wasn't in that space at all. But now, with the journey I have walked, I was more open to God, and so since then, I I stopped advertising my business, stopped doing anything, and I've focused. If you ask me what I do for a living, this is what I will tell you. Of course, there are things I do back end, but I don't really talk about them. This is what I do. And so I've thrown myself more into it. In that period, I've written books. I've written 3 books. I've published the book. I've written 4, but I published the women's. I published the women's books that were 3. I actually wrote one in COVID, but I now put them together, fleshed them out. The 3 of them, I did them as one volume, and I put them together in one volume, and I've actually published it as a physical book. I've been more intentional about the programs. We have behind closed doors every year. We have the DBA leadership. I've resumed the DBA leadership academy this year. That was when I became very intentional about posting on YouTube, doing the videos. So I went to learn about that. Just really just applying myself to it. So it's my daily job. I'm either writing something, I write a lot of content, just creating content. My mind is now I'm more in the one to many space. And what that means is I want to be public more than doing one-on-one counseling. So that has evolved as well, because when you're doing one-on-one counseling, it absorbs you and you don't have enough time to talk. How many people can you talk to if you're doing one-on-one? Helping one person fix their problems can take you a
Yeah.
year. Seriously, it can take you a year, and I'm not getting paid for it. So I have to be very prudent with my time. So I found out that speaking one to many, a lot of things can be resolved if you
Yeah.
speak. It's like pitching. If you speak and let out the videos, let people send people to your videos, let them go and listen. And if they now still have questions, you can come back, and but the one-on-one will now be minimized. So those are the ways that it has really evolved.
Wow, wow, wow. In fact, it's amazing how at times, God calls you and he doesn't tell you the full picture, because really,
Yes,
if he told us the real picture, we'll be like, I'm out of here. God, you find another
exactly,
candidate. Find another
exactly. For
candidate.
somebody else,
You know?
I'm running.
Okay, so now let me
Exactly.
ask you this, okay? Because now you've shared a bit more about what it's like for you now. I mean, now you were somebody that you had your own business. You had in the past, you had worked. In the past, you had your own business and it was thriving. And because of purpose, you had a sense that, okay, I need to put this on a hold for now. Okay. Now let me ask you this. How did you manage, and or how have you managed, you know, the real issues that, where family friends are asking that, woman, this thing is not bringing money yet now. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, there are needs. Like my husband will always say something. My husband is so passionately how, like, what's the word? He's passionately against poverty. Like, as in, you see, kind of thing. So we're talking about something, and he was like, I hate poverty. Reality is there are times that there are needs, real needs that need to be addressed, that need to be done. How do you manage, because I don't know whether the what you do now has come to a point where you can say, yes, it's really bringing in, is able to sustain me at this time, or do you have a model in place, to say, okay, look, what I'm doing, creating wealth along this line or whatever. So my question is, how do you manage those issues? Sometimes it could be pressure from family, friends, or sometimes it could just be, you look at the real deal, you look at things that you need to do, and you seemingly can't do those things because you are not in that space yet. So how do you manage that? How do you overcome such challenges?
Okay, so it's been a long journey on that, and it didn't really just start with me. Well, it didn't really start when I decided to focus on this. Really, and I really sometimes I just sit down and I think about God. I'm sorry, I just have to drop this in that God is so extraordinary in the way He strategizes things, and I know there's one version of the Bible, one translation or that calls him the extraordinary strategist. And sometimes it just blows my mind. So I used to work. I was working and I was doing very well. I resigned from my job in 2009. And at that time, I was earning almost 400K a month. So that was in 2009, 16 years
Wow.
ago. 2000 and, I mean, 400K a month today is still, you know, not a bad salary. So imagine
Yes.
earning it. I was doing very well. I was winning awards. I was doing very well on my job. But I was not settled in that job. So I was doing well. They liked me. In fact, when I decided to resign, the exec came from his office to our office. He didn't tell me to come and see me. He came, maybe he had something to do, but he came and he came to our office and he came to look for me. I'm talking about the exec in charge of our unit. and our department. He came and he said, "Why I hear you are leaving." He didn't know me. I'd never met him before, but he knew my name because of some work I do. And he said, "Why are you leaving us? Is it more money? You want a car? You want a promotion?" And I knew that I could have said yes. In fact, when he left, my boss was just like, why didn't you, why did you say no?" And the truth is, I could have said yes, but if I had, I know that it would only have been a matter of 6 months before I'm out again, because I was so restless. I
Mm.
felt like there is more to my life than this, and I need to go now. I said to, I was about 30 then, and I sat down, I was imagining that, okay, when I turn 40, that I've done with my life, what will I be able to say that I've done with my life? Will it be just about going to work, any money? What of the part of the things that keeps my mind? What of my children? Am I just going to be leaving them house help, all those runs? And I think it really came to a head one day when
Yeah.
I woke up on a Monday morning. My driver didn't show up. He just sent me a message that he had exams. I was like, "You didn't tell me you had exams all this while. It's on Monday morning, My house
Mm.
help decided on Sunday that she was leaving. I mean, it was mayhem. I'm like, what am I supposed to do now?"
Mm.
And I've always wanted to be an involved parent. I don't want my children to be left and nobody shows up. My husband was busy as well, and he even used to travel a lot. I don't want a situation where they're having speech and prize giving day or something, they're doing something and nobody shows up just because I am busy at work and all that. So I'm like, there's more to my life than this job. I need to go out and find it. If I start now, at least by the time I'm 40, I'll be closer. But if I don't start now, when I'm 40, it will be more difficult to leave because
Yeah.
I would have been used to the money. And if, apart from that, I the next thing was, okay, now I'm supposed to grow in my career. I was in a male dominated field, which that's supply chain and warehousing and all that. And it was mostly men in that field. Okay, if I decide to go grow in this field, I'll probably start having to travel all over the place. That will even take me more away from my family. So all those thoughts were in my head. I wanted to, I just wanted to do more. And so I dropped it. And I felt, you know what, money is secondary to purpose. That's how I just felt at that time. And so I dropped the job. I resigned. I didn't even know what to do. Even people on the job, my friends were like, "What are you going to do?" They didn't believe. They thought maybe I had an offer from somewhere else, but I just wanted to. But I resigned, and that I tried to start a business, which was that was the disobedience. I said I tried to start a business because I was like, I cannot go back to be doing small things. No, I have to earn big money. Let me do a big business. But I knew that God was telling me not to do that and to go and make jewelry. But I couldn't take it because I felt, when will I? How many jewelry will I make that will add up to what I was earning? So I didn't do it, and I got my fingers burnt badly. So God has taken me through a journey where I had to analyze what is more important. Is it money or doing what God tells you? And He was giving me one instruction per time. Now, when I went back to start the jewelry business, that was very humbling. It was very humbling because of the big business I had tried to start and it had gone bad. I was in debt. I had struggled. So now I was just like, you know what? I don't even want big business again. Just let me be making 2K, 4K to at least buy myself data. That's all I want. I'm okay with it. I had got to that point where I concluded that myself. So I I grew that jewelry business. Literally, I started with 4,000 naira because I had tools that I had bought when I was learning. I started with 4,000 naira and it continued to grow and grow. So I saw it growing and I nurtured it for about 10 years or 9 years. And I was already in that place where I was not earning what I was earning before. So nothing close. You know how it can be now when you're building a business from scratch. So I'd
Yeah.
already gone on that journey. And by the time God told me to pivot, he was like, okay, I'm going to go and start something else from scratch again. However, this time I did have the money discussion with God because I'm like, okay, if I'm not going to be doing business, what should I do?
Yeah.
And I had that discussion with God. And I can tell you categorically that since 2022, when I did have that discussion, I said, okay, Lord, how do you want me to do it? What am I going to do? And God said to me to stop advertising the business and just depend on Him. And that same business I was doing that God told me to stop advertising, people just come to me and they're like, do you do this? I heard you do this. Yeah. And I just I earn commissions easily without doing anything. With I don't when I say without, not that I'm not doing anything, but I'm not leaving my
Yes, not
house. I'm in my
possible.
bedroom. Yeah, this today somebody still called me and said, I want to, you know, I want to do this, and I just went ahead, did it, and I've earned my commission on a Saturday without going anywhere. And God has just shown himself. I'm serious. God has just shown himself faithful since 2022 when I actually did answer that, agree to answer that call. Is it
Wow.
sometimes it's consulting business, somebody will bring a training my way. I had a friend who will bring a training my way, I'll go, or event planning, corporate event planning, training. So I run a consultancy business. So I have a consultancy company. So I could just get called to do a training. I could get called to do to organize an event, things like that. And I just do it, and I just earn my money. And the most is that I will just take maybe some weeks or some months, and then I'll get back into what I'm doing. So
Doing.
God has made it easier. So that's how
Wow,
it has
wow.
been.
So basically, it's good to know that when God gives a vision, He makes provision available. Because
Yeah.
that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with. When it comes to actually living out their purpose, as in to head out in the path of purpose. Because the concern is, oh, I would leave this that is seemingly stable for
Lucrative.
something that I don't know how it's going to play out. But
Yeah.
there's always something, like I could really relate to how you felt when you were at work. How you just felt there was more to you. There was just this thing that just didn't settle. Because I actually felt like that even when I was at work. For I think that was like 2010 thereabout. I just felt so uneasy. That kind of thing that Sunday Sunday evening, there's already this cloud of sadness over me. And my mom was like, "Why are you so? What is Monday like? Sunday you already?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm not looking forward to work." And he's like, "I don't understand you. Mondays were like my worst days. Fridays were like, yay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to be, you know. But really, it was just because I wasn't in my space. That wasn't what I was supposed to be doing at that time. And so I can really relate to what you've said. Okay, we're going to have to round off. Our time has really been fast spent. But I just want you to, in closing, just what would you say to somebody that is listening today? That about aligning their life to purpose. What was that advice, that single perspective that you would like to share with that person that is like, look, still struggling with, do I live a life that is driven by purpose, or let me just do my own thing, purpose will shall find its way somehow. So I would like to just that your closing remarks, so to speak.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that what I would just say that me, I don't know how to live life without God. Honestly, I was just thinking today that if not for God in my life, I don't even know how I would navigate. And one thing I painfully realized about maybe a couple of years back was the fact that I had never ever really just I was obeying God part time. So when God said to me in 2019, for example, um, pivot, and I knew that okay, I was supposed to start doing the women's thing. I did not go back to God. I said, Lord, how do you want me to do it? I was like, oh, women's thing. Oh, yeah, I'll set up coaching. I'll do this. And I went into it and I got frustrated. It was when I got frustrated, I came back to God and I said, Lord, okay, what should I do now? I'm frustrated. It's not working. And God now began to give me another perspective. So I realized that, and I've been a Christian for so many years, not just a Christian, by the way, a serious Christian for so many years. But I had never, and that's why I said it was very painful to realize that I had never taken that place where I'll go back. If God gives me an instruction, I'm going to go back to Him and say, Lord, how? All I've been hearing is the what. This is what God wants me to do. I never asked about the how. But since I started asking about the how, the journey has been different in the sense that I don't feel like I'm struggling. So, my advice to anybody listening today would be, first of all, you have to depend on God. Understand that God cannot mishandle your life. He can't mishandle your life. He's the one that created you, and He knows what He created you for. And so, ask Him what He wants you to do. But more than that, ask Him the how and seek counsel. I remember going to a friend who is in ministry and far and is a man, because I always try to compare myself with men that okay, I'm living in pubs, I'm a woman, I can still say my husband will sort out the finances. What of men who are doing? So I went to my friend and I asked him, how do you sort out finances and money? And what he said to me, he said, you have to have that discussion with God. He's the only one that can settle it for you. So that was the missing piece of the puzzle that just fitted everything. Don't think that when God tells you to go into ministry, it's because He wants you to starve. No, no. He has everything figured out. Just ask Him for the how. And when you meet any roadblock, go back and say, Lord, how do I settle this? And since I learned that to do it consistently, my journey has been much easier, much smoother. Not that it's without challenges, but it's been much easier. And I think that's the long and short.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much for that. It's the honest truth is that we head out on a journey of fulfilling purpose does not mean that that journey does not come along with its challenges. But the honest truth is that those challenges, when they do come, it is actually an opportunity for us to grow and become better. Because when we cross over
Yeah.
at the end of that challenge, we would have seen how we have grown, we would have seen how we have become a better person. And because of that experience, we're able to be a better, more of a blessing to even others that are walking that same road with us, or walking that same road. So it's really going to be, at the end of the day, it's really, really a win-win at the end of the day. Challenges will come. So let's not dispute that. Challenges will come even when you are walking the walk of purpose. But it's easier when you actually hear from the one that is leading you on that journey, and you ask that, which step do you want me to take? And he's able to say, do it this way, do it that way. Because he is the one that knows where he has made the provisions available, where he has made, that next miracle available on your
Yeah.
journey. So why not
Yeah.
just you to him completely to help you
Yeah.
with that? Okay, we're going to have to round up now. Thank you so much, Fa, for your insightful and sincerely, I love your story, because I know that a lot of people can actually resonate with your story. Some have walked how far you have walked and have known that yes, they have literally have had to yield themselves to God completely. And yeah, some are still struggling that no, God, it's me and you are still wrestling like Jacob and the angel kept on wrestling until when you get to the point where you know that, look, I cannot win this wrestle. It's not possible. So thank you so much. Please, can we just put,
Yeah.
show some love to FA? Just put it in the comment section, put the fire emoji, put, oh, thank you for that impactful, whatever. Just put something in the comment section. Let us know that, yes, you have been ignited, you have been impacted, you have been set on fire to walk on this journey of purpose. Go ahead. Please put it in the comment section. Let's encourage FA. Her story has truly, truly been a story of purpose, a story of, true purpose where you find, it's tangible. It's something that you can truly, truly relate to and relate with. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you
So,
so
FA,
much.
I'm going
Thank you.
to, what's the word? I'm going to put you at the back right now while we round off. Thank you so much for your time. Thank
Thank
you
you for
for
having me.
everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really, thank you, so thank you. I really appreciate you. God bless you.
Thank
Real
you,
good.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you. Yeah, I'm seeing the fire emojis. I'm seeing the FA. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Thank
Truly
you.
been a blessing. Thank you. All right. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here again. I can see my people. I can see Christy. Thank you, Christy. I can see Ronke. I can see Joke. Thank you so much to all my sisters, to all my people, and to as many of you that you probably are not able to catch the live broadcast, but you will be watching the replay. Please go ahead and put it in the comment section what you learned, what you got, what impact the story that Efe shared with us has made in your life. I will tell you one thing: purpose driven living there's nothing like it. That's just the honest truth. There's nothing like living a life of purpose, because when you do, that's when true fulfillment comes. That's when true peace. You are at peace with yourself. And guess what? Growth comes. We can see how Effie has shared her story, and we can see how she has grown from one season to another season. And guess what? The journey is not even yet over. She doesn't even know where God is taking her to on this journey, but she will look back and be like, wow, thank God I took this step. So, to everyone, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you, everyone. I love you all. Until we see again next month, I would say to you, keep living life purposefully by design. Take care till next month, and bye bye, everyone.